welcome to the Prototype Dead movie review, man. Today we're talking about Leave the World Behind, man. We kind of wanted to touch base on some of the things we see, some of the media, some of the movies, some of the music, man. You don't know what we're going to be talking about over here. But today we're going to focus on the movie that just came out on Netflix, man, and it's getting a lot of traction, a lot of ways. Some people love it, some people hate it. Leave the World Behind, bro. How you feeling tonight, man?
Man, I'm good, man. I can't complain. It's a little cold here in Georgia, but you know what I mean. We're gonna heat it up on this one.
Yeah. So just to jump right into it, man. From the trailers and everything, like when you seen the trailers or whatever, what was your first initial thought about what the movie was going to be based on? What it was going to be about?
So initially, the first thing I was thinking when I saw trailers and stuff like that, initially I wasn't interested in it, right? So initially I was like, oh, it's apocalyptic, okay, well, maybe some zombie, whatever. I was like, been there, seen it. I don't need to see it again. And I think what ended up happening is I started seeing a lot of hype around it because the Obamas were attached to it. And because of that, that was one of the only things that made me even a little bit interested in it. Because it always reminds me, like, to me, the first thing I thought of, you'll definitely appreciate this. I was thinking it was World War Z without the action.
And
I was like, yeah, you know that's your movie. But that's what I was thinking. I was like, nah, I seen it. No, I'm good. I figured there was a plague. I figured, there was some type of calamity event that we got to figure out, or we the last ones alive. And I was like, no, I'm good.
you was just think it was just your regular, like,
yeah,
I
never.
We got a virus.
Yep, I had no inkling to even watch it until. And that's good. I don't know if that's good or bad when people start saying the Obamas were attached
How you know
to
the
it.
Obamas were attached to it? Like, where you get that news from?
I think it was like on an Apple News, something like Apple News feed. It said something like the former first family has their first Netflix debut or something like that. And I was like, oh, let me check out what's going on. And then once I put two and two together, I was like, oh, this technically doesn't have anything to do with them per se. It's just they're attached to it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Attached how? Like, did they produce it or something? Or
yeah, supposedly they're part producers, executive producers on it. Yeah.
oh wow, that's interesting.
Now I think so. I'm gonna touch on that too. So I think because it's kind of let's just get into it. So it kind of feels like it was a warning, like, yo, this is something that could potentially happen. And in my opinion, I was like, the fact that a former president or people that were in the know had something to do with this kind of gave it more teeth. Like, yo, this is something that, like, they opened them books on him and he's like, yo, this is coming, or this is a possibility. And that's where I'm at with it, because I've researched this stuff for years ago. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is interesting that he would even attach, any Obama would even attach their name to this, knowing what he knows. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay, this could be a warning of sorts.
So my first perspective, I thought it was going to be like a what's it called when Christ comes back or whatever. I thought it was going to be like that. Like, okay. He took like first, you know what I'm saying? So that was my thing, like leaving the world behind, like, because Left Behind was a movie that came out and it was about man, I cannot think right now about what that's called. Let me Google this just for the sake of it. But but yeah, I thought it was like, oh, okay, well, it's going to be something of the people left behind after Christ came back. You know what I'm saying? So where are the people? Or hold on, man.
So, like, I didn't get anything.
I thought it was more of a religious basis.
Yeah, I didn't get any religious vibes from it. So, because that would have took me in a whole nother direction, but I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, so that's what I was like. I was kind of geeked up.
I might have been more curious. I might have been more curious if I took that from it.
It's based off the trailer and the name of the movie.
Right.
So what do you think about the initial how they built the characters?
I kind of thought it was poorly done. And now, granted, like, I didn't get to truly watch it by myself like I would have preferred. So there was people in the house and stuff like that. So there was a little bit of distractions. But the first thing that kind of came to my mind was, wait a minute, because Kevin Bacon and I think my man's name is Ethan Hawke from Training Day was in it.
Ethan Hawke, yeah.
I thought they were the same people for a second. I was like, wait,
yeah.
So I thought that was poorly done. Like they didn't truly separate the two. Like, hey, this guy is this person, this guy is an antagonist or whatever. Like I literally thought they were the same people. And it was in one of those first scenes when they got into that little town where my man, the survivalist, where he's throwing all the stuff. Kevin Bacon, he's throwing all his supplies on the truck. I was like, well, why did the husband go to the town and get supplies outside of his wife, and they looking at each other? Like I thought that was weird, but it took me a few more scenes to figure out, oh, that's two separate people.
How the initial character in the initial scene when like the wife is up, like packing stuff up or whatever. I'm looking at like, here comes another women are smarter than men situation. You know what I mean? Like the women are on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how it was built up to me. It's like why is the woman like up and it seems like the husband is dumb. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so initially that's what I thought, like on how they were building, and they kind of let that roll out.
I can see that
movie.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's something I put in my notes. So I actually touched on that. But from another, I didn't have that in my notes, but you know that I can see that because
it was just how they was built. It was like another feminist,
right?
Like he was unaware of whatever, or you know. And she's like, no, I'm packing. I got this already in order. Like she got the whole family in order. Like you know what I mean. And he's just, you know,
like you just have to show whatever. Up. Yeah, it was like you just got to show up.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had a brain until he started talking. Like, you know what I'm saying? When he spoke a little bit,
and he was an intellectual,
like talking about the kids. Well, you don't know that till well in. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's the part that's so disheartening. Now that you said that, like they made him because that was kind of the thought initially.
That
like,
was the premise, right? Like
she's just kind of dragging him along. This dude was a whole intellectual. He's a professor. And you gonna act like he's just
seem that
a bumbling idiot,
Yeah. So it was one of those things, and like when he started talking about the kids, I said, "Oh well, he must be." I see he has some depth because he's even concerned about the kids. He's not just like
He's not an airport dad, but he's an involved dad.
Yep. So that's kind of one of the things. Another thing that I noticed, like, so it was kind of like a slow start, but I was already intrigued from the initial open, right? Because of that dynamic, like, oh, they're trying to make the husband seem dumb. And those things kind of like grabbed me because it's a trigger alert for me. But what made me want to sit there and watch it was the music selection.
Wasn't that interesting? It almost didn't fit. It almost didn't fit.
It was
that makes sense with the whole Obamas, like, because I remember thinking like, this almost doesn't fit the movie.
Yeah, like when I opening credit came on, I can't remember what song it was, but when I opening credit came on, I said, "Oh, this is going to be."
It was
good.
Lit.
Yeah,
it was lit. And even after watching it, the soundtrack doesn't match the movie. Like that was so weird. I don't understand.
You was thinking that it was going to be a lot more. It was a lot of talking.
Yeah, which is okay, but it was very interesting, and I think like they were trying to push a lot of narratives, and I almost think it was almost trolling in a sense that stuff that people are already thinking the people on the other side of the aisle do that you kind of look down on them on. Like that's what I felt like. It felt like it was a lot of trolling, a lot of I remember I used this last time. They're trolling a lot of tropes, like. Oh, the younger generation's all about social media and the world can be burning down around them, and all they care about is getting that dopamine fix on their app, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of like them trolling those type of tropes.
Yeah, so like once they got to the teens, I was like, oh, typical teens, typical movie teens. Like there was nothing special about the teens. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, it's just the typical nonchalant, uninterested, you know what I mean, kids who might argue or fight in the back or don't, brother sister don't like each other kind of combative thing. I don't know if that's
so that's interesting you say that because I caught it you being kind of an only child, so that's not truly what really goes on. But the first thing that kind of caught me was I was like, this little girl is on the spectrum. That was she was so weird to me. I was like, she's autistic. That was the first, like, that was my first impression when I caught these kids. I was like, she's autistic, which we end up finding out like there's something off with her. But
there is,
there
was something off.
Yeah, I was like, there's something different about like, but maybe I'm just very sensitive.
I didn't even see that part. Yeah, I didn't catch that part.
Immediately,
that she was autistic, but yeah, no,
nah. I picked up on it immediately. I'm like, there's something different about her. Like, not like slow, but just like
different,
Rain Man-ish. Yeah, I was like, there's something off. And it ended up playing itself out later on in the movie. But I was like, yo, she's off.
All right, cool. I'm interested in how you feel about what actually played out. What key parts actually played out to make you be like, oh, that's confirmation that this person don't get it all right.
Right.
Is that a bad way to say that? That might be the bad way to say that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it wasn't the politically, but I mean, it's so
I'm not she didn't at all.
Right. She just didn't adhere to social norms, like, because by no means am I calling her slow, but you could just tell, like, she didn't, like I always say, she doesn't read the room well.
And you know what else though? Throughout the movie, they let her have her way. So that was kind of like them saying there is something wrong with her, and we're going to let her have her space. Like, oh, leave her alone. She got, she's not all the way. And the mom was highly, I got kids, don't you know what I'm saying? Like, she was highly like alert,
right?
Alert.
So and that's what I say, and that's another one of the examples of where I say they were kind of trolling like these tropes. Like, so for example, and I'm gonna touch on I got kids downstairs. I'm gonna touch on that in a second. But the first thing that I was noticing with about the kids, like the first thing is I felt like they were kind of like making fun or poking fun at like how white parents like aren't very attentive. Like they'll just let them like just do whatever. I felt like they were like,
is that a white parent thing? I think that's every parent thing.
Look, I know it ain't one for me. Like, especially if we're in a weird, hell, not you, in a weird environment, like we're in the airport or whatever. Yo, you're super attentive to your kids.
Oh yeah,
like they like remember they were out at the pool and all them dares and stuff. Like she was out.
They didn't even know.
They never even realized that happened.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like she was like, especially for somebody who's on the spectrum, you should definitely keep eyes on them. So the fact that like y'all in a weird place and there's some weird stuff going on and you just gonna leave her unattended for so long, and it was like that's why I felt like it was a little bit of them trying to poke fun at the trope about white parents.
So if we move it a little forward, right? So they get to the house, right? And they're playing around, and the first thing they want to do is go to the beach. Right. The beach is the first time that I caught hold of people actually move, because people not being around, right? Because I'm saying it's a religious thing, right? And there still wasn't a population, right? So at the in the opening credits, she mentioned people are moving here, there, right? But it wasn't. She didn't say it in a panic manner. She just said like, when I got up and seen people moving the way they was moving, like just such in a rush to get to where they got to get to, blah 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 blah, right? It was like a signal went off, but it was kind of like, that doesn't tell me much. But when they got to the beach and dude was like, we got the whole beach to ourselves. Like that's when I was just like, I didn't catch that. I was still thinking it was going to be. So I caught it up because remember, I'm thinking it's a
right. The world's over. The Lord then came.
Yeah. What is that called? That's going to kill me. Like, but sheesh. But yeah, so like when they're like, we got the whole beach to ourselves, and they're like just excited, and I was like, oh, that's because it was the Rapture. There it is.
Okay, got you. Okay, that's what you look for. Okay, got you.
Yeah. It was. So I'm thinking like, oh, this is the Rapture. They don't even realize that the Christians are gone. They're just saying that the people are, hey, we got the whole beach. Because
dude, I might have changed my whole view. I might have changed my whole view if I would have saw it that way.
But it still could be though, because there wasn't a lot of people anywhere, right? If you run the play throughout the whole thing, people are missing.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand what I'm saying?
I didn't see it from that perspective, but that actually is a valid point.
So even when you think about it, right? Like they're at the beach, and this big the boat comes in and it lands, right?
Well, wait, before you go there, my whole perspective on that whole beach scene, I was like, they're on a private beach. You know, they're at that Airbnb. It's a super exclusive house and neighborhood. So I was like, they're just on an exclusive beach. That's how I took it. So,
gotcha.
But again, you know, what I always say, where you stand is determined by where you sit. I wasn't sitting on that side of the table to be thinking about the Rapture. So I never even thought about it that way. I was just like, that's why you go get an Airbnb, because you're in an exclusive neighborhood on an exclusive beach.
Yeah.
Because there was people, it wasn't like they were truly by themselves. It was just, there were limited people.
It was a limit. It was low key.
Yeah. So I didn't take it. I didn't see it that way. Now, when you start talking about that oil tanker, I knew something was, so in some ways it was poor writing, and like it was over foreshadowing. Like the fact, because I've been on a beach before and I've seen a boat way out there. The way that like the little girl was fixated immediately, that was weird to me.
That was the spectrum thing.
Yeah, I was like, why is she so fixated? Like I remember being in Hawaii one time, and it was basically the same exact thing, right? So we're out there, and there's a boat, but it wasn't an oil tanker, obviously, because it doesn't come that close. But it was like a cruise ship, and I remember, hell, maybe I'm on the spectrum, because maybe that's why I did this stuff. Maybe
that's why she popped out to you.
Because I remember seeing this ship, and I was like, oh, that's a really big ship. And then the way Hawaii, obviously, it's an island. Right on the tip of this island is the tip of the airport. So I'm like, I remember in my head, I was like, yo, what if this plane trying to land hits this cruise ship? I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
So when she said that, immediately I started having like weird thoughts. So that was kind of like, okay, keep like filed out of way. Something's gonna happen with this boat. I had no idea it was gonna come to shore. But I thought it was gonna maybe blow up or whatever. But the fact that it just came all the way, that's great. That's bananas. Like,
right.
They did that.
Again, I'm thinking Rapture. So why isn't the boat controlling itself? Because I'm thinking the people on the boat disappeared. You understand what I'm saying? There's nobody manning the boat.
Yep, that's a whole different viewpoint. And I never, like I said, because I wasn't thinking that. Like, so later on, we kind of figured out, obviously there's no GPS, there's no Wi-Fi, the satellites is down.
Yeah.
Somebody who used to work in aviation, I get it now. Like, people always say that. They're like, yo, like maybe the old school pilots, like, yeah, they'd be fine. Like if the satellites went out and Doppler went down, they'd be able to like make it where they need to go and land safely. But they say the newer ones, they're like, man, if that stuff goes out, man, like we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like they say for the most part, I've heard a stat. Now I'm not a pilot, so I don't know, but I heard 65 to 75% of a flight is like autopilot. Like the computer is doing it. Like all they're really doing is just, like the person is more like, what do you call it? The chat GPT prompter. Like, make sure that this happened. Make sure that, like, that's really it. They say for the most part, the airplane and the computer stuff is actually doing all the work. So, obviously having that type of level of experience with that stuff started coming home for me. And I was like, the average person probably doesn't know that. So when they were putting this stuff out there, I was like, yo, is this a warning? Like, and as they talked about it, like, yo, this is it's almost kind of scary. Like, this is the blueprint of how to attack a country. That's the part that was kind of scary to me.
So you're still thinking like that?
Yeah.
Like you're still thinking about like real. Like, so the whole time, that's crazy that we're watching it from these perspectives, right? Because you're like, you're thinking,
I'm like, this is terrorism.
You're thinking,
I
didn't get, bro. I wasn't calling him a devil.
Oh, okay. I'll say, but he is. In my opinion, he was. Like, I mean, dude, he wasn't willing to help them. And
not
I'm
even
like,
a little bit.
I'm like, what's up with
that's
this
a
dude?
devil
like,
to you? Because he's prepared. Like, I didn't get that.
Right. So isn't that the whole point of being prepared is, to take care of your tribe people? Or whatever?
To take care
I get it's to help your family, but like he knew them. It wasn't like they were strangers. And I was like, dang, he ain't gonna help them.
Yeah, but every movie like that has that same kind of niche of where your neighbors turn to your enemies. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, but think about it though. The neighbors were gone. The initial, like the closest neighbors were gone. They wasn't even around. Nobody was around. Where are the people?
Like, so that's a vacation spot. Even then, I still didn't get to a point of, oh my God, I think that the world's over. Like I still, even with the name of the movie being what it was, it still didn't trigger me to be like, oh, this is the end. So
so you're really getting war from this.
Yeah, that was 100% what I was thinking, right?
That's
the
crazy.
one part that threw me off from maybe like terrorism and war was when spoiler alert, when the black family comes back to their home. Did they rent it out for the Airbnb? I was like, okay, this ain't war. What's this about? And then I felt they start getting into like some social dynamics, like how do we know this is their house? And like I was like, ain't that interesting? That like
there was like, why was they being weird though? Like as far as
right, exactly.
It wasn't weird initially, but still, like the wife made the plans or whatever, and the husband's on autopilot. He's super gullible. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's another thing. Like,
so I didn't take that as bad. I took that as they were label him as a super liberal. The white family who was renting out as an Airbnb, like they were super, like there was super like connotations that they were putting on it, like this is your home, yeah, really, like the fact.
Oh, you got, yeah, you got that, like this couldn't be their home.
Yeah, that's how they was giving them, like, yeah, like, and this was before they were even smart enough to ask them for an ID that would have had their address on it or something like that. But now that I think about it, maybe it wouldn't have had their address on it if that's their vacation home.
Right. It wouldn't have had their address on it. And I think it was stupid that he didn't have ID.
Right. And like he kind of gave a little bit of an explanation, but it was kind of a weak one. Like,
it was a real weak one. Like, who leaves their wallet in their coat?
I was like, yeah, that was kind of sketchy. So I thought, like, at some point I was starting, and that's where I thought it was kind of poor writing, because I was like, well, wait a minute, like, why don't he really prove that, like, yo, this is my house? I just had to come back because, obviously he had he was privy to some information that I'll be safer out here than in the city, but he didn't want to give them that information. And that's fine. Like, you should still be able to hold on to that information, but you should also have been able to provide them, hey, this is actually my, because there's no way I'm letting you in that house, just by you saying, oh, this is my house. I'd have been like,
I mean, okay. Well, I mean, the only thing he had the key, but she was like, well, this could have been the help.
Well, not like, I mean, well, you talking about on the cabinet?
I'm talking about he had the key to the chest.
Right, but he didn't have a key to the door, the outside door. He wouldn't have got in that house if that was me.
He might have had the key to the place. Like I guess it wasn't necessary. And them Airbnb houses, they got the keypad anyway.
Right, but yeah, I wouldn't have let him in. I'd have been like, nah. So like, I thought that was a kind of a miss with the writing, because I was like, that didn't make sense to me. But so just kind of going around, like, I thought there was like some social stuff that they were kind of trying to make a point about. Like, for example, the younger daughter. So I'm assuming, now this could be an assumption. I assumed that the black daughter, she was 26, I believe, because she had a tattoo that said 1996 or 96. Like, so I was assuming that's the year she was born. So I was like, okay, so she's 26 or whatever. So I thought it was kind of weird. Did you see how, like, the whole false allegation thing? Like, remember that she was in the bed with her dad downstairs, and she was like, yeah, this family's weird. The daughter, there's something wrong with her. The wife is kind of weird, and the husband tried to fuck me. And I was like, wait, you came on to him. Some dialogue around these points, and kind of see where your perspective on it was, right? So just going through my notes top to bottom. So the first thing I put was, this movie feels like a warning. So that was the first thing I took from it, and we kind of already touched on that. And the second thing was, I noticed that a theme was the dependence on technology and internet, like not just from an entertainment perspective, but from our infrastructure, like transportation, how we communicate with each other. How disconnected the world becomes if you take that away from us.
Yeah,
like I thought that was a big theme that they were trying to drive home. Next was like I say electric vehicles, but I noticed they were all Teslas that were like malfunctioning.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, you think it was an attack on Tesla?
Like, yeah, that's what I was like. Is this them coming for Elon? Like, hey, like he's the devil, or stay away from him. Like, don't trust him.
Or maybe, yeah, because wasn't he going to the moon or something like that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he still is. He's the head of SpaceX.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I felt like it was an attack on Elon because it was like, why is it only the Teslas, like not the other cars?
Yeah, I was like, there's other EVs. Like, I was like, why only Tesla? So that's why I thought that. And then this was huge for me was cyber warfare. That so I was kind of thinking that theme was going on the whole time. And then when the husband was driving along that road and he saw the Mexican lady or whatever.
Yeah, what was that about?
So me being me, I went and figured out what she was saying. Now, granted, she was just saying like, yo, like, so what we can do is you can take the audio and then there's like a converter app or whatever. Like, let's say if you were overseas and you speak into it and it'll tell you what they said. And like long story, like in a nutshell, she was just saying like, yo, like I ain't seen nobody in miles. I've been walking, you know what I mean? I think I saw a military. I don't know what's going on, but I think it's a war or something like that. Right.
I haven't seen it. And that's the thing that keeps coming back to me. I haven't seen anybody.
Right.
Where are the people? Yeah.
So to me, like they also were kind of out in the remote sticks. So that was interesting to me. The next thing
it was also interesting that they kept running water.
I was trying to think why the water would stop, but I would imagine the water treatment center still had. So
they kept water and they kept power. No TV,
right?
But power and
that's
water.
Real. Like no signal. Like there was no signal, but you did have power. That was a little interesting.
And I didn't understand the signal coming in when they couldn't hear it.
Right.
From time, like they was always away when the signal came in.
Yep, I thought that was interesting. Like in my opinion, I thought that was part of the poor writing. Like it was very convenient that like whenever there was a cue or a clue, they never caught it, and I was like, that's weird. Another thing was the need for bunkers. Where the rich were building bunkers and stuff like that. They're like prepared and stuff like that.
And there's your autism thing,
right? So that's what I was wondering. So was that and I'm not sure. I was wondering, like, remember she went into the woods and they were like kind of following those deer or whatever, and there was like this big house that they saw. Is that the same house?
Yeah, that's the same house.
Oh, well, that's how she got back to it because it didn't look the same to me, but I just made that assumption that it was the same house that she saw. It was like they'll probably have everything that we need, and that was one of the parts that was weird. Like,
where were they?
Where's that family? Where's that family? They literally have a bunker. They should have been in there chilling.
That's what I thought. I thought they were gonna come in and kill her or something like that.
Yeah,
but she's in there watching Friends.
Yeah, so I thought that was weird. So the fact that everything that they needed to be safe and good was right there. And the fact that, that's why I thought they were kind of poking fun at the younger generation. Like everything they needed to be safe and secure was right at their fingertips. But she was just so like wanting to eat junk food and wanting to just do what she wanted to do. And then watch that last episode of Friends was so important to her. She didn't even think to go back and get anybody or let them know where she was or whatever.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of them poking fun at the younger generation.
I didn't like the over sexualization of the black girl.
So so I think it froze, and I was talking about that. So that was a part of it, but just in general, the over sexualization of the black people, I thought that was weird. Like even the husband, like like I was like, how did we get here? Like so my brother-in-law, that's what I was watching it with. And he even said, he's like, oh, he gonna hit that. And I'm like, well, no, his wife in the air somewhere about to die. And I'm like, no, that shouldn't even come up. And and then they had the little scene where they dancing to some black music. And I was like, yo, this is so weird.
And then like it sounded like it looked like a soft porn, like a porn scenario. You got this old white man outside with the young black girl talking about, you have sex with one of your students before? Like what?
I didn't feel good about that because it kind of made me feel like she was baiting him into allegation, right?
Right.
And one of the things, and think about it. Remember when she was in the bed with her father when they were sleeping down in the basement? She was like, "That family's weird. We got to get them out of here." She was like, "The little girl's weird. The wife is like, she's just mean, and the husband, I think he wants to fuck me." And I was like, "Oh no, you the one that came at him."
Yeah, you came at him. Yeah, true.
And I was like, "Oh, that." So I didn't necessarily see it as like, yeah, there was some sexualization of it, but I saw it as like how being alone with a younger female or a female in general
could be bad.
You can open yourself up to, an allegation, because Kevin Bacon did nothing wrong. Like, he even said, he was like, "Oh, that's a wild statement." Like, "Oh, nah, never."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I'm glad the black dad had the foresight to be cool.
Yeah, because I was like, right, because I thought it because I was so expecting so much more action. I kept waiting for it to go left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought, because I started thinking Purge at some point. Like, I was really thinking like, oh, they're about to go Purge. Like, it's us against them, or even when it was.
Let's talk about that car with the Tesla thing, right? Why is the mom getting them out of that situation?
Exactly.
And no, look, like they don't even want to drive.
The first thing she said, like, even make him hurt to where he don't do it. He gets out of the car, he's looking around, he's all dumbfounded or whatever. And she's like, she see what's going on. Oh, and she runs to the driver's seat.
Yeah.
That's not the natural order of things.
No.
And that's why I think that's another agenda they were trying to push.
Like, oh, the woman's this or that. Like,
yeah.
They don't.
Because that's the first thing that it'd have been like, hey, move the car. She might have directed him what to do, but she wouldn't have I don't even know what he was doing when that was happening. He was standing outside of the car, basically.
They just made him dumb.
Yeah, and I was like, and the thing about it, was dude was an intellectual, like he was a professor. So why make him he's like, I guess like maybe the connotation was that he was book smart but street dumb.
Maybe.
And then they even did a little bit about it when they were out there at the Survivalist with Kevin Bacon, where he's begging like, man, I'm not a real man, and I was like, this is weird. Like, he was kind of giving that, like, you're more of a man than me. You're prepared. I'm begging you. Like, all that was left was for him to get on his knees. Like, I was like, damn, like, why is he submitting to him so
I think that was poor writing too. Like, I mean, we all knew the bug bite was going to end up being something. But like,
right.
Like that though, like come on.
Yeah,
dude ain't have to lose his teeth.
But it don't do that though. Overnight.
We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on.
So the Survivalist was saying lice or something like that, but or Lyme disease. Like, it doesn't do that. That's why I was that's why I was like, is this something outside of just because I get a bug or spider bite? I was like, man, it don't have you like that overnight. That's why I was like, is this something else? Is it just coincidence that spider had bit him?
And while my man was they got Lyme disease out there. Like, come on.
I was like, that's weird. So and that's one of those issues where I was like, they wanted to almost make it like gory and like a horror movie. It was poor writing. Like, there should have been a better way to get that in there if that's what they were trying to do.
So to wrap it up, man, what do you get? What do you get this film? Because I know what you initially said, like, you know what I'm saying. So we went through it. You heard it. What do you give it? Scoring 1 to 10.
It was a 2. It was garbage truck juice. It was absolutely horrible. Initially, I had no interest in it. The only thing that even brought me around to wanting to watch it was that the Obamas were attached to it. It started super slow. For the first 45 minutes to an hour, I was like, I really want to turn this off, but I was like, I almost feel like they're giving us maybe a foreshadowing of what could come. And the only reason I thought that is because the Obamas were attached to it, right? Other than that, I would have been like, this movie's trash. I'm turning it off, because I could see it was a little better than a Tubi movie, but the writing was just as poor. Like, I was like, this is just really, and I think they were very much leaning on or prejudices or bias.
Yeah,
I felt like they leaned on that so much that in some cases, on the stuff that maybe you're on the right side of, you're like, yep, like, let's say white folks and raisins in a potato salad or something like that. You're like, yep. But when it's something, when black people eating chicken, you're like, that's offensive. Like, so like, there's maybe some truth to both, but some trigger you. So I felt like they leaned on a lot of that, and the ending was absolutely atrocious. I don't get it. I mean, why end it there?
So you gave it a 2. I would probably give it a 7.
Wow.
Yeah. So
if there was a part 2 or a sequel, you would watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
only because I'm locked in to figure out what happened, what's going on. I'm still looking for the religious answer. There were some stupid parts like you tripping on the beach, dude. Why is the plane about to hit you on the beach? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make much sense to me.
that was weird too.
Like, out of all the places,
and why there? And why at that
right
spot?
there? And why?
Because that was like the second plane. Did it hit that spot?
Exactly.
So that was
why
a little
are
weird
planes
too.
coming right there? That's just too.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense in a lot of different things, right? Him finding the watch.
So think about this. So there's a couple. So there's a couple more things. A couple little points I was going to talk about. So think about this. So remember when his teeth was coming out and stuff like that, and remember there was that sound. So there's actually within world history, there's actually a such thing as it's called Havana syndrome, and it was warfare that they did with radiation. It's called the Cuba radiation mission, and that's something that potentially happened over in Cuba. It's called Havana syndrome. So because of it's a weapon that they use with radiation and microwave waves, basically, they used it as a weapon, and it gave people these issues. Whereas I don't know if their teeth were falling out, but they died unexpectedly, like really quickly. And they believed that it was them testing microwave warfare. So that was something that kind of came into play for me.
You know what's crazy? How you're so logical about this movie. And I'm in this religious world.
Right.
Oh, where's Jesus?
Yeah.
And you're like,
right.
No. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, no, this is war. Like, this is warfare. Like, this we're being attacked. Why?
Because so if you remember, I told you this before. So back like it's probably 12 years ago. I used to go on this website called InfoWars with Alex Jones and stuff like that. And it was labeled as a conspiracy theory type website or whatever. But a lot of it was just he was giving the world news without spin. And a lot of that, so I've read stuff and I've saw articles and stuff and videos or things surrounding this in real world application. So that's why there's nothing mystical about it to me. I'm like, oh, I've seen something like that before. Maybe not directly correlated, but I'm like, it's similar. So for example, so we were talking about the waves or whatever. And then also there was, it's a quote they put when Kevin Bacon said, we made a lot of enemies around the world and they teamed up. And he was like, it's Korea or China or something like that.
Yeah.
So that kind of fed my suspicion about it being like warfare and stuff like that. Oh, and another thing. So we were talking about like the Mexican lady who was maybe picking fruit or whatever. Another thing I took that to maybe mean is, because as eventually like they're going to be the majority and the need to speak Spanish is going to be evident because otherwise, then what? Like you're not going to understand what's going on.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I thought about that as well as I was kind of like, because like I said, initially when I watched it, I was like, man, this is trash, it's garbage truck juice. But then when you were like, we were going to go through this, go do your notes. So then I start being more analytical about it because initially I was like, this is garbage. Oh,
that's crazy.
Now I bet you ain't catch this. So remember when they was in the shed, the little, I called it,
and there was a body there. There was a body imprint.
Yeah. But not only that. So remember the black girl asked Julia Roberts, why are you like this? And her response was, my job is to know people well enough to lie to them and sell them stuff they don't want. And that's when I was like,
Oh, because she was in marketing. She said she was in marketing.
Yeah, yep. And I was like, that's why she's so cynical, because she understands how gullible people are. And they'll believe whatever, like as long as you package it right, they'll believe whatever you tell them. Wait, and then remember they were talking about remember the black dude, the husband, he was talking about some of his his clients or whatever that were in defense contracting and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he like the running joke was the evil cabal and the shadow government and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that's also something that I've understood and I've heard about. You know, they're talking about the evil cabal and stuff like that. That's like the Bilderberg Convention,
right?
Where they would meet up. Like he actually mentioned it, where they would meet up and they would discuss what's going to go on for the next couple of years within the world. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was like, so literally, like I've had exposure to this stuff.
There was a lot of those. I remember there was one in Pittsburgh. That's like a couple years ago.
Yeah. Remember, was it G20 or whatever?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's one of those things where when you have exposure to it, like it didn't seem foreign to me. Like it was just this is a bad analogy, but it just seemed like it was a compilation of conspiracy theories. It almost wasn't even a movie to me. It was just a compilation of conspiracy theories on film that I've seen already. So like that's why it wasn't that great to me. I was like, okay, there was nothing new in it.
And here I am looking for Rapture.
Yeah, you were looking for the Rapture. Like
I'm looking for the Rapture. There's a whole body imprint in the floor. Like
it might have been more interesting. Who was that? I don't know.
Right, like who? What? Yeah. Where did this person go? Why was there a body imprint? Like he just disappeared.
Right. I agree.
So they kept me on my toes looking for. I wasn't even looking for stuff that you was looking for because I'm looking for Rapture. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting for Jesus to come down. You know what I'm saying? Right. They're like, no, this is war.
Yeah, I literally would have been more. I would have been more intrigued and enjoyed it more if I would have been thinking about it from that perspective. But it didn't give me anything to connect that dot for me. Like if there was ever something that was spiritual or something that I saw that I couldn't explain, I might have went that way. Like, let's say you saw an angel fly around or you know something.
That's why I didn't even mention it to you. And I was like, I don't want to tell you what I was thinking, but
yeah, I didn't see any of that at all. Now, granted, so you know, actually, I'm gonna give you the analogy that I gave last night. That I told my wife. I said, literally, this is the bird box that they can see. It was bird box where they could see. Like, that's all it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is it called Bird Box?
What's that?
With that movie, is it called Bird Box or Bird?
Yeah, that previous one that was on Netflix where they was going around and that was more like spiritual and stuff like that or whatever. Where they was going around it. Like I thought that was stupid as well. I'm like, so you're telling me these people navigated? Yeah, I was like, they navigated all this being blindfolded. I was like, no, that's cap.
Yeah, that was
so. I saw it the same way. But remember how big it was. Remember how it took for you know how it goes nowadays. It dominated like popular culture for 2 weeks maybe.
I think I still see memes about it.
Right. So same type of thing, like stuff that people can't explain. Sometimes it intrigues them. It's one of those things for me. I use this a lot. I'm like, it's one of those works that you only seem smart to somebody who's dumb, or somebody who's uninformed. Like there was nothing new in it. That's why I was just like, no, this is whack. This is just basically them compile a whole bunch of conspiracy theories into one movie visually. That's all I saw it as. So it didn't.
I think that's a good idea, though. I mean, the premise sounds solid. If that's what they did, well, I mean, that's what they did.
Yeah. Like literally,
and how you're thinking through, like I said, how you're thinking through all this stuff, like maybe and church people over here still stuck on stupid.
Yeah, like and so the one thing that was a little like, remember, I still didn't understand that. So supposedly they said there was a drone that dropped all those flyers. Yeah. I didn't see a drone. Did you see a drone?
It was a big plane. It was a big drone. If that's what it was.
I didn't understand that.
It was a big drone.
Okay.
I mean, it looked like a a crop plane. It was the size of a crop plane, but it could have been.
Oh, and that's something else. The Mexican lady, she said that there was a plane that dropped some stuff on them, like some chemical.
Oh, word.
So that was something else too. They kind of like connected the dots. Oh, this is warfare.
Or was it? They did drop the chemical. They did the plane. You don't remember? The plane dropped that the chemical, and it dropped that
the flyers or whatever.
Yeah, it was mixed in that smoke.
Right. So that, to me, that's what connected the dots. That, this is chemical warfare. Like, even if I wasn't sure, like, there was, let's say I was thinking like, maybe there's some spiritual to it. I'm like, well, why would God send these folks? So that's what kind of
Well,
threw me off that state.
the spiritual aspect would just be the believers are gone.
Right.
That's like after that, God don't got nothing to do with none of that. Like,
so I do now, to your point, but I just think this is just poor writing. And sometimes, especially nowadays, people are so looking to be disbelievers. That's why people ain't really going to church no more. I think they could have did a better job of setting up the story. Why are all the people gone? Where'd they go?
They don't know.
But you should tell that, because it seems like they were in their own little bubble and own little cocoon, but everybody else knew what was going on, knew to get the hell out of Dodge, but they didn't.
Right.
That's a little weird.
I think the fact that they built that bunker and wasn't in the bunker, that to me tells me Rapture. Like, people are gone.
Like, you're so in the know, but you don't make it. You're so in the know to prepare for it, but you don't get to use it.
Well, I mean, that's possible. If they're believers and Rapture happened, they wouldn't be able to.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I didn't think it, like, if it was even if you were to say it had anything to do with the rapture and stuff like that, that would have made sense to why the people were gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the believers, God didn't want you to see none of this. Hey, let me get you up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a better setup to explain why the people were gone.
And
I still don't understand why the people were gone.
The dude that was prepared, evidently he didn't work off a Christian based system,
right?
Because he was still trying to barter. Like, nah, I ain't. He wasn't working. So no, he wouldn't be around.
Yep.
Like, he would stay around. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Like, yeah. So that I thought that was like I said, I just thought a lot of that was poorly done. But in essence, because of how many loose ends they left at the end, it leaves you to interpret a lot of different things, even though it's just really shoddy work. So you're filling in the blanks with yourself because they didn't do it. Because they didn't tell a complete story.
That was their intention. Because I kind of like enjoyed the whole, like, the ending of the whole city being on fire. Like wait, what? And I don't know if we should have gave out that spoiler, but I guess we did. Like that, like I was just like, ooh. So that right there is going to make me watch it again. Like, if they came out with
here's the thing. I didn't know that was the end. Like, when I saw the city on fire, across the water, I was like, oh, it's about to get good. And
no, they cut it off on you. Yeah, but I knew it was going to be the end, because that would have been too much of an escalation, and we was already sitting there for 2 hours at that point.
Right. Yep. 2 hours plus. Yeah.
Yeah, we're already sitting there too long. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're not making those 6-hour movies.
Right. And that was the part that was disappointing to me. If it was like a Jerry Bruckheimer movie or Steven Spielberg, like, that's the apex. Now we're about to see what's really going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was thinking. And for it to go off, and it was so anticlimactic that, she got to see the last episode of Friends that she had been so fiending for. I was like, So, and think about it, and this is, and maybe I'm reading too much in this, but this is something that I really thought about. The music that they picked as the soundtrack, and the people who watch Friends, those generally don't intersect. I thought that was so weird.
But there was no genre in the music.
It was a lot of black music. Like,
no. There was some country and some pop in that music as well. And it was like popular.
Maybe
songs.
I didn't even catch it then. Yeah,
like,
maybe
they
I didn't.
really only played like 2 black songs. Like, and it was like the first one, the opening scene.
And then
it was the one when they was in the basement dancing. Right.
Right.
But everything in between that were popular, pop culture songs.
So with that being said, to me, that's why I was like the whole Obama thing. That's where that came into play for me, because it was normal American Pie cinema until those 2 music selections came, and I was like, it almost felt out of place. And so again, the Friends, like the heavy Friends factor being a part of it, with that music selection, granted it was only 2 songs, those 2 being connected, I was like, that's 2 totally separate groups of people.
There was a thing, they explained the Friends thing, where they was like, why do you like Friends so much? And it was like, she was like, it felt like
it's a time that never happened. It's a time that like never happened. I didn't watch Friends, so I don't understand it. So
Me neither.
I didn't get it. Yes, because they did speak to that. Now here's just a question that I had. Do you believe that the people who own the house, what race do you think the wife was?
What?
Okay. I was thinking that, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but
Just because of the daughter and him being so
but I
dark
wasn't sure.
complected.
But so I thought that, but if you remember, like they were in some type of like I guess that was down in the basement. Do you see all like the pictures and stuff like that they had?
No.
It was like red tail, the fireman, like the black soldiers and stuff like that. Like it like that could have been like people like from near. It didn't seem like it was artifacts. I know supposedly the wife was an art dealer, but that wasn't art. Like that seemed like that was more like their lineage. And I was like, maybe she isn't white. So those were some of the questions I came away with.
You think the wife will? Well, you think the wife would be white?
I did.
Light skin for sure.
I really did.
Light skin for sure. But
yeah,
I mean, because the title, the art dealer. You know what I'm saying? They were all like, what is it? Prep. What is it? Ivy League. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I just figured, when you're a blue blood, you're what they call them, a boule, what they say, old boule ass nigga. But so from that perspective, like the fact that they were, they just live a different life, like that was okay. But I don't know why, like because she had so much disdain for that family. The younger daughter, or whatever, had so much disdain for that white family. I felt like it was more of her going against her white side. That's how I took it. And I was like, I bet her mom is white. Because I was like, what's the disdain for? Yeah, I was like, I didn't understand the disdain.
I just thought she was a competitive girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's like, oh, I don't have a major or something like that. Or she majored in something stupid. Or, you know what I mean? I just thought she was playing the role of a confused, what's it with Gen Xer? You know what I mean? That combative. You know how they are, right?
You got all the answers. You got all the answers, but none. Yeah, you got all the answers, but none at the same time.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? They're the social media influence. Because I think she did do something like, oh, I'm a social media something. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I must have missed that part.
She did. She had a DJ phase. She's like, oh, I'm a DJ.
Yeah, yep.
And you know what I'm saying? So
and that's why they had all that. That's why they had all that vinyl and stuff like that. Right. Yep.
So I just think she was like a social media, like Gen Zer that was just like on whatever. Like they're just for anything, but they're really mean, angry, weird, and that's
right.
So, but yeah, man. Hey, I think you dropped some jewels in that, man, and I think the movie got deeper. Definitely because our perspective was so far different.
Yeah, right. Way,
you know what I'm saying? Like I'm over here looking for a whole spiritual warfare thing. Right. But if you think about it, if the rapture did happen, like God don't got nothing to do with the rest of what's going on. What's that? Like,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
He should be blessing and punishing, people equally, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Well, the rapture is just the start, right? Like the rapture, like once the rapture happens, then the devil takes over the world for like 7 years and does what he wants and creates this order and then builds this army to then, you know what I'm saying, fight God again in the end. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how that story goes. But so to go to your point, right? If melanated people are the majority of the world, well, of course they're trying to take out and regain structure instantly. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, God's out of here. All right, now it's our time to kind of turn up, blah, 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 XYZ. You know what I'm saying? And especially coming from all Indian, that's Asian countries, right? Like they was like, oh, this is from China, and the other one's from Arabia or Saudi Arabia or wherever it was Arabian. You know what I'm saying? But those are all Asian countries.
Oh, the Arabic. Okay, got you. Yeah.
So it's like, well, that's going to be the enemy because one particular thing I read about when in reading the word, like God would never let them go over to Asian countries to go preach. Like every time they tried to cross the border in Asia, like God,
something would happen.
No, he was just like, don't go over there. And he like that's something I always wondered. Like when I was reading through the Bible, I'm like, wow, aren't they able to go over there? Like God do not want them to go over there.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
It's an interesting little concept. You know what I mean? But I ain't gonna hold you too long, man. And man, thanks for working with it. You know what I mean? It was,
Yeah.
we'll get it together. And
Any suggestions on books, other watches, or
you got any? Cause no, not for this one. Cause I mean, well, if we want to do the book part, you know what I'm saying? We could do that too.
I a lot of people don't read. I'm an old school. I'm still reading books and stuff like that. But
He said, yeah, I do the audio book.
Yeah,
you don't read.
Yeah. All right. But let's see. I guess
Spit them out. What book should we tell the people to read? My go-to
Okay.
is always biblical.
Right.
I'm gonna say Job, but
so you know what? So I don't mind that. Because I've done it. But also I suggest being open to reading other biblical texts. It helps me. For me, it helped me get a better understanding of world and my place and role in it. Because I had questions, just growing up Christian, and I was like, I don't understand. But that's for another discussion.
You talking about those books of like the Anunnaki and all that stuff, like those books?
So I've never read that. But I read other things like I the translation of the Torah. I read the Quran and stuff like that. And one of the things that I used to do, and this tells you how far back it was, back on my BlackBerry, I had the Holy Bible app and the Quran, and I would cross-reference. A lot of similarities, just FYI, a lot of similarities.
Again, we had that conversation. If there's so many similarities, if they're saying the same thing, but one has a caveat, which one are you going with? The one that doesn't have the caveat?
No, I mean, who's to say which one's the caveat though?
The other one doesn't shun you for not believing this one. This, like, you can read the Quran, and the Quran don't be like, don't be a Christian. But Christianity be like, don't be a Muslim.
Yeah, right. So, to me, that's why I don't necessarily, I don't judge. I take each religious text for what it is. If I had to, that's all it is to me. It's knowledge. But like I said, that's for another day. But so this is I remember I took a picture of some books I read a while back, right? And so these are a good, the Mo Better starter pack to understanding the world and life. So the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, that's a good one. Most people have read it, but if you haven't, it's a good place to start. And this is another book that I reread generally every 3 to 4 years. The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. Still applies today, especially for Black folks. This is a book that I read it prior to going to Egypt. I think I want to reread it after being there. It's called The Egyptian Book of the Dead. I want to reread it because I think I'll have more context after having actually been there. This is another good one. Very hard to find. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. It's a tough read. Another one, it was kind of tough, but if you're really into Marcus Garvey, you can kind of get through it, but it's a tough read. The Selected Writings and Speeches of Marcus Garvey. It's kind of a tough read, to be honest. I didn't even finish it. I couldn't.
What makes that such a tough read is just the tone, the intellectual.
Not necessarily the tone, like the context. Because in my opinion, it was coming from a very
us versus them or a racist.
Yeah, like so because he's Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm FBA. I'm like, what y'all doing? Nah, like it's only us when it's convenient. So obviously that was a tough read for me, right? So this one really hits home for me. I remember I was in 8th grade. I got in trouble in middle school, and the only thing I got for Christmas this year was this book, and it was the autobiography of Frederick Douglass.
Mm.
It's actually a really good book, but I remember at the time I hated it. But
Like this is what you
that's a
got
good
me.
one.
Your grandfather
Right.
got you that one?
No, my mom did.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and here's what was so wild about it. Me being me, I actually went and I snuck around. You know, I was a latchkey kid, so I didn't snuck around the house and I saw all the gifts that I had actually was purchased for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got in trouble. To this day, I still have no idea. Like I had a mountain bike that I never ended up getting, so I still don't know where that bike went.
Gosh.
I remember sneaking around the house and I found all my gifts, but I never received them. I ended up getting the autobiography of Frederick Douglass. So, and I'll give one more because we can. I'll leave for another time. But the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welding. It's an amazing book.
The ISIS Papers.
And it's that right there, like that is an amazing book. For me, it was life changing. And it made me want to reconnect because I wanted to go to Egypt since I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school. But when I read that again, that gave me the fire to actually want to go because it's just a pipe dream. And then I was like, man, I got the means and the wherewithal to actually go now. And it made me like, I'm going. So I ended up going on my 40th birthday. So, so it was something that was what was that 23 years in the making. And that book prompted me to want to go. So
never been prompted to go to. I don't know what it is about Egypt, man. I don't want to go. Like I'm not really interested. But
why? You're just not interested, or are you afraid that it could potentially disrupt your belief system?
Not even close. Not even close. It's really just a lack of interest. You know
okay.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my belief system or whatever. Because I believe what I believe, but I find it really hard to kind of even shake that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah,
I bet.
But yeah, man, appreciate you.